Hi guys, and welcome to Purple Shoots, the podcast. Today I'm joined by Karen Davies. Hi Karen.
Hi.
An absolute pleasure to have you. So just for anyone that doesn't know, would it be possible to just introduce yourself and tell them, just a little bit about what you do?
Okay, so I'm the founder of Purple Shoots. So I call myself the chief executive, although I'm not keen on titles and hierarchies. But I started it off just over, almost 10 years ago. So
Perfect. So obviously, as you said, you are the founder of Purple Shoots. Would you be able to just give a little bit of an insight as to what Purple Shoots do?
So I've to say it in one sentence, I think we're an anti-poverty charity that uses entrepreneurship to empower people to change things for themselves. It enables people to improve their lives. So we use microfinance as one of those tools, but we also run small collectives that we call self-determined groups, and all of it helps to move people forward towards a sort of a better standard of life in all sorts of ways, financially, but also in well-being terms too.
Perfect. And then just going back a little bit to your own background, would you be able to talk to me a little bit through about your journey from obviously starting out to how you got to starting Purple Shoots originally?
Yeah, well, it's funny, my background never seemed to make any sense until I started Purple Shoots. And then it seemed to, everything I've done fits in really well to enable me to do this. So my degree a long time ago was in focused on economic development, and I did a subsequent degree as well later on around development. So I've always had a bit of a heart for social justice and wanting to get the best out of people. My career then didn't really reflect that at all. I worked in the City of London initially in one of the big financial institutions, and then when we moved to Wales, I worked for myself for a little while as a freelance translator, and then for a small business doing using my languages in that case in the small business, and then later on for a financial institution in Wales. And I think when I worked in finance, I was constantly frustrated that people who had enthusiasm and skills and good ideas who wanted to start businesses couldn't get funding from the people I worked for because they didn't fit the criteria. So usually those people would be people who didn't have any money behind them, maybe hadn't been self-employed before, maybe had a poor credit score. That's very easy to get if you've been unemployed for any length of time, or if you've been a carer for any length of time. All sorts of reasons that were nothing to do with whether they could run a business or not, but they couldn't get finance. And so it made me realize that there was a lot of people at the sort of lower end of the economy with potential and to contribute to it who were being left out. And that was one of the big drivers that made me want to start Purple Shoots. I wanted to provide something for those people, and then not long after starting it, and maybe almost at the same time, there are people that we've met who were ready to start a business and just needed the finance, but there were also lots of other people who still had those skills and that potential, but maybe needed a little bit more help to get to the point of changing things for themselves. So that's where our collectives, our little groups came in as a way of helping people move forwards, especially people who think that they have nothing to contribute, and actually they have, and the groups help them to discover that. And sometimes that does lead to them starting a business. Sometimes it leads to them taking action in the community. We've got some great stories of different things people have done, but it was all around wanting to recognizing that those people weren't sort of helpless people at the bottom end of the economy, the people that were perfectly capable and just stuck behind the rules of the people that I'd been working for. So that was the reason I started. I mean, I should have done it sooner. I think it's quite a big step really to abandon an income and start a business. That's why I've got a lot of respect for the people that I support now, because I had to do it. I had to give up an income and start and not have an income for some time to get Purple Shoots off the ground. And that's a big step, and it's a really, I did it later in life when I was much more financially secure, so I cheated really. But the people who were starting out that we're supporting who have got families and everything, they're taking a big risk, and I really take my hat off to them.
No, absolutely, yeah. It definitely is a risk, and it's never without difficulty when you are in that phase of looking to start your business. I wondered, obviously, for yourself starting Purple Shoots, what sort of things did you have to overcome initially when you was starting up Purple Shoots?
So, well, I mean, funding is a big thing, and getting people to fund us is the same problem that the people that we support have. You know,
Yeah.
that they didn't believe. A lot of the funders we spoke to didn't believe that the people we wanted to support would ever pay us back, and they thought we were doomed to failure. So as the years go on, I'm feeling much more bullish about saying actually that's not the case. So there was that. So raising the money for it. So we've never managed to get any sort of government support. So it's always been private investors and private donors who've supported us. But getting it started, and actually when we started, I'd been to see an offshoot of the Grameen Bank that started in Scotland that actually didn't survive. But they said, oh, you can't start with less than £1 million. But I didn't have £1 million to start it with. But I decided to start it with what we had, and sort of prove it, and then raise more money as we went along, which is what happened. So that was probably one of the biggest hurdles, and maybe the other ones was all around belief. The belief around me of people in the business sector who thought I'd gone mad, you know, sort of lending to people where all the principles of lending tell you not to do it. And of course I've been lending in my previous jobs, and I knew all that. So it was sort of trying to deliberately forget some of those things and say, no, we're just looking at this person, we're not looking at the past, we're looking at the person and the business, and we are trusting them with a small loan to get it off the ground. So that was quite a challenge too. And then getting it out there with no money to market it. I mean, I've always been a bit hesitant about promoting it too much because I've been worried about running out of money to lend. So that's a difficult balance to strike. But yeah, I think people who work in big organizations have got no conception of how you've got to duck and dive to make things work on a shoestring.
No, yeah, of course. And obviously, like you said, there was difficulties to overcome of people potentially thinking, how would you pay back this money that you was giving out to these new businesses? Did you ever have any moments in your own mind where you sort of questioned what you was doing as Purple Shoots, or was you very, very much in the mindset of, I know this is right?
Yeah, I think you always have doubts.
Yeah.
Every time we have a business that doesn't work out, you think, what did I miss? And
Yeah.
often it's, if the businesses don't work, it's nothing to do, often even with the person where it's failed, it's something outside of their control. And so I'm beating myself up less about that as time goes on. But yeah, always when the money runs low, you think, or you know, every time you fail to get someone to support you who you thought you would, you think, oh, am I doing the right thing? But I have to go back then to the people that we supported and the stories, and that they're sort of their journeys, and you think, yes, this is worth doing, and it is worthwhile, and it really does change things for people.
So a big part for you then is obviously that motivates you is the sort of the why behind the business and your reason for doing it. Do you think, how important do you think that is for people starting a new business to have that why and that purpose and that drive behind it?
I think, yeah, it is important, and it's sort of what we look for in the people that we're investing in, because they've got to have that sort of something that's driving them forward, an enthusiasm, a belief in themselves, which can grow. Sometimes they haven't got much belief to start with, but you've got to have some. And yeah, you've got to run your own business is tricky, and there's lots of setbacks, and it never goes to plan. And you've got to hold on to why you're doing it, and that you believe in it, and just keep going, and not give up. And it's I when I meet our borrowers for the first time, they often give me a nice business plan, and I says, great plan, it's not going to happen like that. I don't know whether they hear me, because it's easy to panic when things, I mean, I remember at the very beginning, I had a plan and a forecast, and I imagined how many loans we would do to start with, and so on, and had the money, and we were just overwhelmed with inquiries straight away, and I was panicking. And my colleague Bob, he's retired now, but he was like a sort of a great mentor. And I was saying, look, this is all going wrong. And he said, no, Karen, can't you see this is success? And it's just turning it around and seeing the positives and keeping going. It's the dogged determination to keep going, and the sort of belief in what you're doing, and because if that goes, work becomes a chore, and when you're driving yourself, it can't be a chore.
Yeah. Oh, so obviously there's been numerous businesses that Purple Shoots have helped now, and it must be incredibly satisfying seeing them come to fruition after seeing the stages that they've gone through. What I wanted to know is, for you personally, obviously it's not so much about the business plan necessarily. What are them qualities that you look for in an individual who may be looking to start their business? What are the standout sort of characteristics that really get to you and make you believe in them?
It's something about resilience, that a lot of people that we support have been through situations, or people who've had a bereavement, or people who are dealing with a long-standing illness, and that there's a resilience in there that you need as an entrepreneur. And that's why I think lots of the people we support are really good entrepreneurs, because they've learned that resilience because of all the trouble they've had to come through. So there's this little spark of something in them, the determination to make it work. You can learn how to do your figures, and you can learn about marketing and all that, but it's that belief in yours. There is a bit of a belief in yourself, but a belief in what you're doing, and an enthusiasm for what you're doing. That's the sort of thing that we're looking for, and the drive to move that forward.
So obviously, as Purple Shoots has grown, you've obviously had to bring more people involved into the team as well. So obviously, from your perspective as a CEO, how do you identify the people that buy into your idea or buy into the ideals of the company that you've started? How do you find these people?
That isn't easy either, because as a charity, the pay's not great, so that doesn't help. And it's, you want people who are sympathetic to people, but who are not going to take away their dignity and their own ability, so not that I'm going to mollycoddle them. So you've got it's quite a balance. So you want somebody who does care, but isn't going to smother people. Certainly working in the groups, because the whole thing about with the groups is encouraging people to be independent and to take steps forward, and not to be reliant on help. And similarly with our borrowers, you need to be sympathetic to their past, but you also got to be clear that they're starting a business, and the business has responsibilities, and borrowing money has responsibilities. So we have got some ex-bankers on our team, but they are all of them quite special people, because they have got that sort of hard-nosed lending ability, but they've also got great empathy for the people that we're working with, and that's definitely what's needed. So it is quite hard to find people, and we want a good age range, and we want a good cross section of people types, which I think we've sort of got in the team. We've certainly developed that maybe more recently with more people. It tended to be a bit old to start with, but I think it's got younger.
No, absolutely. Obviously, it's a big part for anyone starting their business. Obviously, when you get to the point of being able to sort of, or have to build your team, I suppose identifying them people is a challenge. So for some of the people that are listening or watching, and some of the people that are just interested in business or starting their own business, is there any sort of advice or a particular piece of advice that you would give to someone who's looking to start their business, but maybe isn't quite there yet, or doesn't have that confidence in them just yet to push their idea forward?
I think I would say, keep going. Don't write yourself off, and don't think it can't be done. And to keep exploring it. So to sort of, depending on what it is, look at what other people are doing, look at who's succeeding, and get tips from those, from what's happening there. Talk to lots of people, talk to other people in business. It all helps to build confidence. I think people things like business networking events, people think they're very scary, but if you go along there, you find that most people are just winging it,
Yeah.
and trying to make the best of things. And I think that builds people's confidence when they find other people in the same box. I think to get a network of support around you is a really good thing, even if it's only one or two people, sort of somebody outside who's on your side but is independent, who then can say, oh, this isn't working, but this is. So focus on that. I think I had Bob at the beginning, who was a critical friend and a mentor, and as well as being part of Purple Shoots, and I suppose he became part of it, but even then he was able to sort of say encouraging things when necessary, and also to say, this isn't working, let's change it. And so, yeah, having that support, I think, is really important, and especially once you start it, because it's very lonely, or it can be.
Yeah.
And then I think if you're on your own and something goes wrong, it feels much worse than it really is. Whereas if you've got somebody else saying, that's just one thing that's gone wrong, look at all these things that are going right, then that gets it all back in balance.
Perfect. And obviously with you being the CEO of Purple Shoots, I've got to ask, well, what are some of the sort of big highlights for yourself over your time, over the 10 years that Purple Shoots has been around? What sort of highlights could you pick out for me?
Oh golly. I mean, I think a lot of the highlights are seeing the people that we've supported succeeding, I mean, and in a big way, some of them, well, I mean, big way in our terms, that employing people and growing their businesses and selling sort of overseas. I mean, that's quite a highlight. But even small things, so the first time, so Cardiff Christmas Market is coming up soon, and we've got a stall there. The very first time we did that, we put stuff on the stall that I think that some of the people from our groups just were flabbergasted when people bought it. I think they just didn't believe that they were good enough, and seeing that change at people when they realised they actually were making stuff that was saleable. And I remember I started. There was a new group in Port Talbot that I just started working with at around this time of year, and I said, and they weren't sure what they wanted to do, and I said, well, why don't we try making something? And so I brought the load of stuff, and they made some Christmas decorations, and I said, well, I'll sell those at the Christmas market. And they said, no, nobody buy those. And the next week I came back and it was £12. Okay, it wasn't a lot of money, but I'd sold them all. I put £12 on the table. I said, I sold them all, and they were just amazed. And I think that sort of that begins to change people, because they begin to see they have value, and that other people might value them too, and that's a great thing.
Yeah, no, I think that's incredibly important. I remember the course that I'd done at university. We got given these sort of selling challenges, and I think the first bit of money that we made was actually through washing cars. But for us, that felt like a massive win, just to have that transaction and have that sort of recognition that, okay, I can make money doing this or going out by myself. So yeah, it definitely is a big part. One thing that I wanted to do with you today, if you don't mind, is a bit more of a sort of quick fire round. So I've just got seven questions for you. You don't have to answer them super quickly. Some of them you might have to think about a little bit more. But yeah, if you don't mind, I'll ask some of them. Perfect. Okay. So the first one that we've got for you is just, what does a typical day look like for you as the CEO of Purple Shoots?
Oh, it's very hard to say what a typical day is. They're all different.
Yeah.
But it might involve reviewing an application for a loan. It might involve working with one of the other team on a loan application. It might involve going to a group and helping at a group. A lot of it is now, I suppose, is around managing things. So managing the money, managing the accounts, looking for funding, talking to funders. Maybe also a bit of I'm on a few other groups, the Wales Anti-Poverty Coalition, and a few groups like that I'm part of now. So maybe taking part in one of those meetings. There's quite lots of emails.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Have you almost had to take more of a sort of a bigger picture view as the company's grown? Have you?
Yes, definitely. So I've do less of the hands-on stuff and more of the bigger picture strategy.
And how have you found that?
Oh well, as long as because I've now got a team that are great around me.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice to trust them. I suppose I need to know what's going on so that I can talk about strategy and think about strategy. But no, it's been good. It makes it more possible. You can see the succession coming along, and that's good. That's good.
Great. And the next question for you then, what is the best bit of advice that you have been given that you can think of that comes to mind?
Best bit of advice. Oh my goodness. I mean, the bit of advice that I always give is, what I said before about if something goes wrong, that don't give up, because things always go wrong, and to just keep going and find a way around it, or get help to find a way around it, and not see it as a disaster. Because I think if you're not experienced at running a business, you've never done it before, then you think when something goes wrong that you've done something terribly wrong, and probably you haven't. Or even if you have, it's only a mistake. So you just got to not give up and keep going.
Perfect. And so with obviously the current role that you've got as CEO of Purple Shoots, what is almost obviously, I imagine for you it's probably seeing the stories sort of and the businesses grow and come to fruition. Apart from that, what is your favourite sort of part of your job, apart from the satisfaction of seeing them come through?
I suppose I like interacting with all the team members, and enjoy working with them. So if we have a team meeting or team stuff, I enjoy that, I guess. And I do enjoy the sort of talking about Purple Shoots in other places. That's a good part. I don't know if that's my favourite, because that can be stressful. Yeah, I think I guess now we've got our own building, and well, no, it's a rented building, but now we're in a building. I do enjoy the fact that I can sit upstairs where I am now, and people are coming and going, and so there's volunteers coming in and out, there's people from the groups coming in and out, there's visitors coming in and out, and team coming in and out, and there's a bit of a buzz going on, and that is great. I enjoy that.
Okay, that does sound great, to be fair. Another question for you then. Obviously, Purple Shoots isn't just finance, which I think is an incredibly important part or statement to make from Purple Shoots. Could you talk me a little bit through some of the support that you give away from the finance?
Yeah. Okay. Great. Good. Because we're often compared sometimes by funders with other lenders, and we're very different. So yeah, we do a lot of other stuff. So for individuals, we've got a range of sort of support, and we've got some business mentors who are available for sort of advice on specific things. So if somebody's struggling with something particular, we've got a little bank of volunteers who will go in and help them, or we can, but often the outsider is better. So there's a lot of sort of ongoing support for the businesses we've helped, and also if the businesses come to us and they're not quite ready, we can help them there too. And then we've also do a few little, I don't like calling them courses, but they're sort of courses on starting a business, but they're very informal and much more tailored to the people who come along. So we see who comes, and then we work out how best to help them. And then there's of course our groups, which are we've been calling them self-reliant groups. So thinking of calling them self-determined groups, because that seems to be a better reflection of what they are, because they're just getting people together and getting them to work on what they want to do. So develop skills, or do stuff in the community, or just support each other, whatever they want to do. But that's what the groups are for, and that still changes things for people and puts them on a pathway to something better. So there's a sort of a lot of stuff around what we do that all sort of knits together to make it what it is.
Yeah, I think one of the standouts to me is also, well, almost that Purple Shoots is obviously not just a financial lender. It is the whole package of being able to help someone start their business and giving them the tools to be able to do so. Yeah, so they're ready for the world, which I think is obviously what makes you different, very different from the traditional lender. If you could switch jobs with anyone, any famous or any job that you can think of, what job would it be and why?
Right now, well, when I was little, I always wanted to be a farmer.
Okay.
I don't know. So I mean, that would be quite nice, or a tour guide. I'd like to be a tour guide and take people around. That always looks nice, either around the UK or somewhere else around the world. So I wouldn't mind being a tour guide. And what else would I like to do? I guess something like that. That would be different.
Yeah. Absolutely, that sounds quite good, to be honest. Well, if you speak to someone in a situation of they've been working on their business, and for instance, after a 6-month period or a 12-month period, they're potentially not doing what they thought they would have done with regards to their turnover or getting their brand out there. What would you say to them people in that situation who might be losing hope a little bit about if they've made the right decision?
Yeah, so they need a lot of encouragement. So we would try to find them somebody to support them. So I mean, we had a couple of these just recently because people are panicking around the cost of living crisis, and I had a call from one of our people saying it's not working, it's all going wrong, I'm going to have to close it. And I sent one of our mentors along, and he came back and said, "Oh, she's okay now." I said, "Well, what did you do?" He said, "Oh, nothing." He said, I just listened to her and talked to her, and so it is a lot around if somebody's feeling like that to talk to somebody who might be able to help them. Or I mean, we'll find them somebody if it's one of ours, because there's usually a way around it. There's usually something to change, to help it improve. I mean, right now it's quite hard for lots of our businesses, and they've just got to keep going and get through it. It's frustrating because they did that all through COVID, and now they've got to do it again. But the brilliant thing is that most of them are. They are keeping on, and that's one of the that's just proving the resilience that we put our faith in.
No, yeah, absolutely. And before we wrap this up, then, what does the future look like for yourself and Purple Shoots? What would you like to imagine it to look like moving forwards?
Oh, so the big plan is to have sort of Purple Shoots available all over the UK. So we're trying to set up sort of reasonably autonomous but connected with us replicas of Purple Shoots in different parts of the UK, because we've had small amounts of national coverage in the media occasionally, and that has precipitated inquiries from all over the UK. And at the moment, well, up until recently, we only had money for Wales, but we've opened an office in Yorkshire, we've spread into Lincolnshire, and we're also beginning to work in the West Country. So we want to sort of be able to have this lending available everywhere. So not an empire, but just a lot of replicas of the Welsh Purple Shoots around the UK that can offer the same thing. That's the future.
It sounds like,
and I'll be retired.
It does sound like a very good future, and it sounds like a future where, well, you should have many more businesses getting the opportunity to start when they may have not been given that from a traditional lender in the past. So we should hopefully see a lot of Purple Shoots businesses popping up all over the UK, which I can't wait to see. So we'll wrap that up there. Do you have anything left that you'd like to say to anyone, or?
No, I said it all now, I think.
Perfect. Okay, well, in that case then, I'd just like to say thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Purple Shoots podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. And yeah, for everyone watching at home or listening, thank you so much. Please like, share, and leave comments, engage with us. Try and get involved. If you have any questions that you'd like us to ask our guests, then just let us know, and we will make sure that we're providing the best possible content for you. This episode will be out on Friday. You can find it on Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So please keep an eye out across all our platforms. And as I said, get as involved as possible. We love to hear from you. Apart from that, we'll look forward to seeing you next week. So thank you very much, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you too.
And we'll see everyone very soon. Cheers.